With us as we have some more news now coming in from the United States. Viewers, tensions are rising between Venezuela and the US once again. President Nicolas Maduro has praised Venezuela's military as invincible. At a year-end ceremony near Caracas, Maduro received a 50 caliber sniper rifle. He said the armed forces are united with the people and ready to defend sovereignty. Maduro claimed Venezuela's national power was consolidated in 2025. Let's fact listen to President Maduro first.
Cada estandarte, cada símbolo representa una historia de más de 200 años porque nuestros militares tienen una historia gloriosa. Como militares emancipadores, humanistas, guerreros invencibles. No son militares imperialistas, no son militares que salen a bombardear pueblos, a matar pueblos, a robar riqueza.
Meanwhile, the United States is stepping up its military presence in the Caribbean. More U.S. transport planes have arrived in Puerto Rico. Ground vehicles were also seen alongside warships, jets, and an aircraft carrier. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Venezuela of fueling drug trafficking. His administration has bombed suspected drug boats and threatened strikes on land. Trump has also authorized covert CIA activity targeting Caracas. And I request Rabinder Sachdev to join me back in the discussion here. Mr. Sachdev, do you think the statements that have been issued by Russia and China are going to deter Trump from escalating his military presence in the Caribbean?
Absolutely not. You know, the statements by China and Russia, what can they do? Nothing. These are mere words. At most, if the issue comes to some diplomatic or the global forum like the UN or UN Security Council, even there it would be like posturing. These two, they cannot do anything, I mean, practically speaking. Right. What has happened with respect to American policy, with respect to Venezuela, there is an overlapping of 4 core interests. One is the drugs, you know, which America claims Venezuela is, you know, channeling, though the number or the volume of drugs which is coming from Venezuela is not that much, especially fentanyl, but sure. So drugs. Second is gangs in America linked to the immigration, right? So drugs, immigration, gangs, blaming crime in America on Venezuelan illegals. And then bottom line, the foundation is oil. Venezuela sits on the largest reserve of oil. It may not be producing as much, but Venezuela's reserves of oil are largest in the world. Okay, and there have been discovery of oil fields in Guyana, which is bordering Venezuela, with which Venezuela has some, you know, also friction and conflict, you know, also out there. So oil is the core interest. And plus, see, there are 2 individuals maybe whose philosophies are overlapping here. One is Marco Rubio. He wants, and that's what they're thinking, that, you know, by strangulating Venezuela, they're also strangulating Cuba, because Cuba depends on oil from Venezuela. So they're looking to, you know, pressurize not only Venezuela, but through Venezuela, Cuba also. That is there. That's the Marco Rubio train of thought, which has been combined with Stephen Miller, who's a deputy chief of staff, his line of thought on curbing immigration or illegal immigration. So when both these actors have come together on, you know, geopolitical sense that, you know, a regime change in Venezuela, that's what essentially they're looking now. And, you know, cornering Cuba, more economic hardships of Cuba, suppressing flow of drugs, illegal drugs and gangs into America. And then, of course, private sector oil companies in the US who have their interests. Chevron is already there, by the way, in Venezuela. Okay, they're operating under a special mandate, but then ExxonMobil wants to get in. So oil is one big underlying reason.
But what about the fissures that continue to remain in Latin America? You know, while Brazil is, of course, backing Trump to push ahead with his aggression, there's a resistance and opposition coming in from Argentina. Do you think will it have any significant impact as far as backing Maduro is concerned, or will Trump not stop until his regime is overthrown?
See, if we look in black and white, then maybe nothing will change the trajectory on which Trump is going. Venezuela, okay, all of these nations, Brazil, Brazil would be, to some extent, sympathetic to Venezuela, the Lula regime, right? Argentina, the Milei regime, yeah, they'll be more in the camp of Trump. Honduras regime change is now pro-Trump.
Yeah.
But whatsoever it be, these are separate, pardon the term, they're itsy-bitsy players. They do not count for anything. The US has immense firepower. And Maduro, by the way, by mobilizing his forces, sure, it's good for the, it's good for the, morale of the forces and the country and all. But the point of fact is that any American aggression will not be fought man to man on land. American aggression will be delivered via missiles, basically, and air bombings. So if it were a man-to-man conflict, yeah, sure, Venezuela could fight maybe with the US Army, if it's a man-to-man fight on land. But this age of technology and war and of American, prowess, America doesn't need to put any boots on the ground other than, as you mentioned, also, yes, some covert, operatives who would be moving inside and trying to take out some key leaders of, Maduro regime or even Maduro himself, and looking to make preparation on the ground so that the opposition can immediately take over the governance or something like that. But what we will see as this whole, as it ratchets up American aggression, quote unquote, even if verbal or on, in fact, it will be airborne and air delivered. There will not be any. I do not anticipate American Marines landing on the beaches of Venezuela and moving towards, moving towards Caracas to take control. America would depend upon the internal divisions and the internal, internal dynamics within Venezuela, that the regime is sufficiently weakened, killed, morale busted, that the opposition can step in.
All right, sure. Well, for now, thank you very much, Mr. Sachdev, for joining me in this discussion and helping us with your perspective. And we move ahead now, viewers, to some news coming in from Taiwan.